It's Shedeur Sanders. Yes, Deion's son, Colorado's golden child. The nil prince of college football. Who's at the center of a swirling trade hurricane. According to insiders. And let's be honest, more than a few Reddit detectives with suspicious levels of confidence, the Cincinnati Bengals are making quiet moves behind the scenes to bring Shedeur Sanders into the fold. And what kicked this into overdrive? Joe Burrow's toe. The NFL's golden boy, Joe Cool, is reportedly out for at least 3 months with an injury that sounds minor on paper, but is apparently major enough to send the Bengals into panic mode. And instead of rolling with a mid-tier veteran or crossing their fingers for a lucky draft pull, they're allegedly eyeing Sanders as the insurance policy of the decade. Which would be fine if it weren't for one massive problem. Cleveland thought he was their guy. And the minute this rumor hit the internet, Brown's Twitter absolutely combusted. Not since the Odell Beckham Jr. breakup has the dog pound seen this level of collective hysteria. Fans were posting crying memes, threatening to throw away their jerseys, and launching petitions like it was 2016 again.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
Some even dug up footage of Sanders wearing an orange and brown hoodie once, citing it as proof of his Cleveland allegiance. Never mind that it was probably just a coincidence. In times of crisis, delusion is comfort food. Now, let's rewind a bit. The Browns have been on a quarterback carousel from hell since what feels like the dawn of time. From Johnny Manziel's public implosion to the Deshaun Watson experiment, that's been complicated, to put it extremely mildly. This team has been desperately seeking a savior for over 2 decades. And just when it felt like the next big thing could be on the horizon, young, flashy, talented, with a last name that already echoes through sports history. It's like the football gods laughed and said, let's send him down the freeway to Cincinnati. Cue the collective Cleveland meltdown. And it's not just the fans who are reportedly losing it. Rumors are swirling that Dee Haslam, co-owner of the Browns and one of the league's more quietly intense power players, had a full-on boardroom blow-up when the Sanders to Cincinnati whispers started gaining traction. One source claimed she said, quote, if they think they're going to steal him from under us, they've got another thing coming. Another claimed she immediately called an emergency meeting to reevaluate the Browns' entire scouting strategy. And you know it's bad when the phrase emergency meeting gets thrown around in September. Because this isn't just about one player. It's about optics. It's about power. And most of all, it's about that deep existential NFL dread that your team is always one step behind everyone else. The Bengals, who were the literal laughingstock of the AFC North not that long ago, have leapfrogged the Browns in every metric that matters. Wins, quarterback stability, fan confidence, and even social media clout. And now they might also be the team that poached the future of the NFL right from under Cleveland's nose. That's a level of psychological warfare most franchises never recover from. Meanwhile, Cincinnati is staying suspiciously quiet. Not a peep from the front office. No denials. No clarifications. Just vibes. And those vibes are menacing. Because silence in the NFL is often louder than words. And when a team doesn't come out to squash a rumor, it usually means there's something to hide or something in motion. Which brings us back to Shedeur Sanders himself. This kid is the full package. He's got the stats, the swagger, the bloodline, and a built-in media empire thanks to Papa Prime himself. He doesn't just play football, he commands attention. He sells tickets. He moves jerseys. And whether you think he's ready for the NFL right now or not, one thing's crystal clear. He's a marketing goldmine. A potential face of the league in waiting. So if you're Cincinnati, looking down the barrel of a long Burrow absence and a competitive division, the temptation to pull the trigger on someone like Sanders isn't just logical. It's strategic genius. You get the on-field talent and the off-field spotlight. You light a fire under the locker room. And you maybe, just maybe, break the Browns' already fragile spirit in the process. It's a 2-for-1 deal that's hard to pass up. And if you're Cleveland, it's a kind of betrayal that would keep you up at night. Because this isn't just another missed opportunity. It's a symbol, a statement, a flashing neon sign that says you still don't have it together. The Browns have been trying to shed their cursed franchise label for years, and just when they thought they were inching toward stability, the Bengals potentially snag their next golden ticket and throw them right back into chaos. You can practically hear the distant sound of therapy appointments being booked across Ohio. And here's where it gets even messier. The media is absolutely feasting on this. NFL pundits, sports bloggers, TikTok analysts, you name it, everyone's running with this story like it's already happened. Debate shows are arguing about how Sanders would fit into the Bengals system. YouTubers are breaking down theoretical playbooks. ESPN ran a lower third graphic that straight up asked, could Sanders make the Bengals unstoppable? Meanwhile, Cleveland fans are spinning out in real time. One post claimed Shedeur unfollowed a Browns fan page. Another pointed out that he liked to tweet about Cincinnati barbecue. And sure, that all sounds completely unhinged, but that's the level of panic we're at. When you're starved for quarterback stability, you cling to every pixel of digital hope, or doom, you can find. And through it all, Dee Haslam is reportedly fuming behind closed doors. Because this was supposed to be their win. A moment of light after years of darkness. And instead, they're watching it play out like a soap opera they didn't audition for. What started as a rumor is now a full-blown NFL saga, with fan theories, anonymous sources, and social media sleuthing fueling the fire every single day. It's the kind of off-season chaos you can't script, unless, of course, you're the Browns. Then it's just Tuesday. And here's the kicker. Even if the trade doesn't happen, the damage is done. The emotional whiplash alone has already cracked the foundation. Browns fans are questioning everything, from their front office's competency to the loyalty of players who haven't even signed with them yet. It's exposed just how raw and unresolved the franchise's quarterback trauma really is. And in a division as cutthroat as the AFC North, that kind of vulnerability doesn't go unnoticed. So whether Shedeur Sanders actually ends up in Cincinnati or this was all just a beautifully chaotic smokescreen, one thing is clear. The Browns got played. Or, at least, felt like they did. And in the NFL, perception is everything. As for the Bengals, if this was a psychological tactic, hats off. They just pulled a masterclass in mental manipulation. Who knew all it took to break Cleveland's soul was one rumor and a conveniently timed toe injury. So what did we learn today, folks? That in the NFL, rumors can cause more damage than actual trades. That Cleveland still hasn't escaped its quarterback curse. And that the Bengals might secretly be playing 4D chess, while everyone else is just trying to survive preseason. But mostly, we learned that nothing, and I mean nothing, sends an entire fan base into a spiral like the possibility of their star heading across enemy lines. So grab your popcorn, because if this is how the season starts, just wait until week 1. Now tell me in the comments, is Shedeur Sanders the next NFL megastar, or just the latest pawn in the league's drama machine? And if you're a Browns fan, be honest. How many times have you refreshed Twitter today? Hit subscribe for more NFL chaos, meltdowns, and popcorn-worthy plot twists. This ride is just getting started. Shedeur Sanders isn't just talented. He's narrative fuel. His dad is Deion Sanders, for crying out loud. That man revived college football headlines just by showing up at Colorado in a hoodie and shades. He turned a one-win program into the center of the sports universe in about a week and a half. And Shedeur? He's carrying that same gravity with him. He's got the swagger, the arm, the pocket awareness. He knows how to work a camera, and he's already built for the bright lights. Even if he doesn't become a Hall of Famer yet, his presence alone shifts the spotlight. That's the kind of star power teams build brands around. You don't just acquire Shedeur Sanders. You launch a media campaign, drop a merch line, and start booking interviews on First Take. Now, take all of that and imagine it landing in Cincinnati. To Browns fans, it's not just offensive. It's a full-on betrayal of the natural football order. Cincinnati is supposed to be the city you pass on the highway, not the one taking your dream QB. Cleveland is supposed to be the franchise clawing its way to redemption, the underdog story everyone eventually roots for. And now, they're back to being the punchline. You can practically hear the Steelers laughing from across the border. Meanwhile, let's check in on the Bengals for a second, because their fan base is, frankly, thriving. They're walking around like they just won the lottery and found $20 in their coat pocket on the same day. Sure, Burrow's injury sucks. It's a gut punch to any Super Bowl hopes this year. But the second Shedeur's name entered the conversation, everything changed. Suddenly, there's hope. There's intrigue. There's a backup plan that doesn't involve dragging Andy Dalton out of retirement. And if you think this doesn't send a ripple effect across the rest of the league, you're kidding yourself. Because other franchises are watching this unfold like it's an HBO drama. The Cowboys? They're probably sweating the idea of losing media dominance. The Jets? Trying to find a way to link Shedeur to their own chaos. The Patriots? Well, they're too busy Googling offensive innovation to notice anything else. But back in Cleveland, the panic is visceral. The Browns' front office is reportedly scrambling to put together a counter-narrative. We never wanted Sanders anyway. He's not ready for this level. We're happy with our depth. You know, the usual spin cycle. But nobody's buying it. The fans are already in deep emotional damage mode. And you want to know the worst part? This wasn't supposed to be the year of drama. After all the Deshaun Watson controversy, the locker room tension, the never-ending maybe next year promises, this season was supposed to be about focus, clean slates, winning games. And instead, they're back in the chaos blender before week one even kicks off. Meanwhile, let's take a quick moment to appreciate how wild it is that a rumor, a single piece of speculation, has managed to spark this much upheaval. Welcome to the NFL in 2025. Because this isn't the old days, where trades happened behind closed doors, and you found out in the morning paper. Nope. Now one anonymous tweet can send entire franchises into full PR lockdown. Player unfollows a team on Instagram? National crisis. Agent spotted near team headquarters? Reddit meltdown. And if you think front offices aren't watching this play out like a chessboard, think again. There's a very real possibility that Cincinnati leaked this rumor on purpose. Test the waters. Stir up some drama. Get Cleveland rattled. And honestly, if that's the case, bravo. It's diabolical. And it's working. You know who else is probably enjoying this? Dion. Let's not pretend Coach Prime isn't sitting somewhere in a velvet chair, sunglasses on, sipping a protein shake and watching the football world lose its mind over his son. This is exactly the kind of media storm he thrives in. Every headline about Shedeur is free PR for the Sanders empire. And every fan war over him just makes his eventual NFL debut that much bigger. Because at this point, Shedeur Sanders isn't just a quarterback prospect. He's a walking sports media event. And that makes him dangerous. Not just on the field, but in every negotiation, every draft room, every press conference. Teams don't just want him for what he can do on Sunday. They want him for what he represents. Star power, youth, buzz. And for a league that lives on ratings, that's gold. So what happens now? Well, that depends. If Cincinnati actually pulls this off, and that's still a big if, the fallout in Cleveland might be permanent. We're talking scorched earth. Fans turning on the ownership. Haslam family under fire. Sports radio losing its collective mind. Maybe even a full-scale billboard campaign demanding new leadership. If it doesn't happen, honestly, the damage is still done. Because now the Browns have to prove something they weren't prepared to prove. That they can win without him. That they don't need the flashy name. That they have the plan. And when your fan base doesn't believe you, when every game becomes a referendum on the decision you didn't make, that's a brutal place to operate from. And again, we're still just talking about rumors. That's the kind of powder keg we're sitting on right now. One whisper, and the whole house catches fire. Because the NFL isn't just about football anymore. It's about stories. It's about legacies. And it's about power. And right now, Cincinnati holds all the cards. Cleveland? They're on the verge of another identity crisis. One more slip, one more failed plan, and they risk becoming a team that never quite figured out again. So what are the lessons here? That rivalries aren't just about the games. They're about narrative warfare. That the NFL rumor mill has more influence than some front offices. That fan hope is a fragile, volatile thing. And that sometimes the idea of a player, just the idea, can be powerful enough to shake an entire division. Shedeur Sanders may not even land in the AFC North, but his name has already carved a path of destruction through it. And the season hasn't even started. So buckle up. This isn't just football. This is mythology. This is empire building. And right now, Dee Haslam is fighting not just for a quarterback, but for the soul of her franchise. And if you're still watching from the sidelines, thinking, this is just sports, honey, no. This is the NFL. And this is the drama we live for. The Browns have been trying to shed their tragic hero status since, what? The Reagan administration? Every time they get close, every time there's a flicker of momentum, it slips through their fingers like a bad snap in the fourth quarter. And that's why the mere idea of Shedeur Sanders wearing Bengals stripes is so painful. It's not just a trade rumor. It's not just a personnel move. It's symbolic. It's the moment you realize the cool kid down the street didn't just get the car you wanted. He also picked up your date for prom, waved on the way out, and drove off blasting Drake. And yes, the Browns are still standing there in the driveway, wondering what the hell just happened. But let's talk about the Bengals for a sec, because their side of this story is almost too perfect. Think about it. This is a team that was the literal basement dweller of the NFL for years. People used to joke that getting drafted by the Bengals was a punishment. Fans were wearing paper bags over their heads. Their mascot looked like it needed a vacation. It was bleak. Then Joe Burrow showed up like a swaggering franchise messiah in a headband, turned the whole culture around. And suddenly, Cincinnati was cool. Not Ohio cool, but actually cool. Playoff wins. Super Bowl appearance. National media love. TikTok edits with moody background music. It was a vibe. And now, with Burrow on the shelf for 3 months and possibly longer, most teams would spiral. Most teams would scramble to sign whatever washed-up vet was still hanging around in free agency. But not the Bengals. Nope. They go straight for the next potential superstar. The buzz name. The one guy who could potentially carry the torch if Burrow needs more time, or worse, can't bounce back the way they hope. You think that's accidental? Not a chance. The Bengals have been playing the long game since 2020. And bringing in a guy like Shedeur Sanders isn't just a football move. It's a branding move. It's a signal to the league that they're not just surviving Burrow's absence. They're evolving. They're building a system that's bigger than one player. They're turning Cincinnati into a quarterback pipeline instead of a quarterback graveyard. And for Cleveland, that's a gut punch. Because they've never had that luxury. Every quarterback decision in Cleveland feels like a referendum on the last 15 years of dysfunction. Every pick, every free agent signing, every this guy might be the answer, is weighed down by a decade of trauma. And when one doesn't work out, it's not just a setback, it's a collapse. So now, with this Sanders rumor snowballing into a full-blown fanbase crisis, Cleveland's once again stuck between desperation and denial. You've got fans online trying to reverse engineer fake trade scenarios that would bring Sanders back to Cleveland, despite the fact he never played a snap for them. You've got talk radio hosts screaming about organizational incompetence like it's a Monday morning sermon. And the front office? Radio silence. They've gone full bunker mode. You know that vibe when your group chat is exploding, but the person who started the drama goes completely quiet? That's the Browns right now. And it's not a good look. Meanwhile, other teams around the league are watching this like it's a reality show. You think the Ravens aren't taking notes? You think the Steelers, those smug, structurally sound, annoyingly consistent Steelers, aren't laughing from their steel throne like football Lannisters? Because let's be honest, when your division rival is melting down over a player they don't even have, that's a win. That's chaos you didn't even have to create. The Bengals just had to leak one name, and the entire state of Ohio emotionally detonated. And let's not forget, this entire thing is happening in September. We're not even into mid-season injury drama yet. We haven't hit the late-season playoff crunch. This isn't even the main act. This is the teaser trailer, and Cleveland's already throwing popcorn at the screen. And here's the cruel irony. Shedeur Sanders is likely sitting back, loving every second of this. As he should. Because this whole narrative proves exactly what Dion's been preaching for months, that his son is box office. That he doesn't have to take a single NFL snap to make waves. That even being connected to a team changes the vibe, the strategy, the energy in the building. That's superstar behavior. And if you're Shedeur, this is leverage. This is power. This is how you walk into the league, not just as a draft pick, but as a brand. You think he's going to forget how panicked the Browns were when his name hit the rumor cycle? You think he won't remember that entire city begging the football gods for a miracle? Because he absolutely will. And when it's time for endorsements, for media appearances, for interviews where he talks about the process and the journey, this storyline, this chaos, will be part of the myth. And guess what? That myth won't include Cleveland. Not anymore. Now, to be fair, we're still in rumor territory here. Nothing's official. There's still a world where Sanders doesn't end up in Cincinnati, where he takes his time, weighs his options, maybe even delays his NFL entry if it doesn't feel right. And if that happens, Browns fans might temporarily exhale. But here's the problem. The damage isn't undone. The feeling of being outmaneuvered, of being played by a rival, of once again looking like the franchise that never quite gets it right. That lingers. That sticks. That kind of narrative scar tissue takes years to heal, if it heals at all. Because now, every game the Browns lose this season, fans are going to wonder what would have happened if. What if we'd made the call earlier? What if we'd offered more? What if we hadn't fumbled? Yet again, another shot at relevance. And for the Bengals? Even if they don't land Sanders, they've already sent a message. We're not just reacting. We're orchestrating. We don't panic. We plot. And we don't just beat our rivals on the field. We mess with them off it, too. That's villain-era behavior. And frankly, it's kind of iconic. So where does this leave us? In the middle of one of the most unexpectedly delicious plot twists in recent NFL memory. One player, one injury, one rumor, and boom, entire divisions rattled. Fan bases turned against each other. Executive teams scrambling. And one quarterback, with a last name Sanders, controlling the tempo of the entire conversation without saying a word. That's power. That's drama. That's the NFL. And here's the part that should really keep Cleveland up at night. This is probably just the beginning. Because once the narrative starts spiraling, once the what-ifs get lodged into your fanbase's brain, there's no undoing that. The Bengals have already won the psychological game. The Browns? They're still trying to find the field. And if this is how the season starts, oh honey, you're going to want to subscribe for what's coming next. Now sound off in the comments. Should Cleveland have done whatever it took to secure Shedeur Sanders? Or is Cincinnati just playing puppet master and enjoying the chaos? Either way, hit that like button if you're here for the drama, and subscribe for more NFL power moves, fan base freakouts, and the beautiful disaster that is football in 2025.